Oh, hey, what's up? Or what's down? What's down around town? What is going on in the... what's good in the hood? There we go. What are those things called? I think they're called sayings, or maybe not sayings. Introductions. Greetings! That's what they're called. And I'm certain that we all have that special little greeting that we say to one another. Maybe it's just hello, or what's good, my homie? What's up, my... Anyways, what does anything to that extent... fuck, I'm not... I'm speaking over myself. What does any of that have to do with me talking right now? Nothing, absolutely nothing. I just wanted to say that greeting others is wholesome, and I would give you 2,000 million Reddit updates if I could, just for you saying hi or something, or hello. Like in that one song from the Beatles, hello, goodbye, hello, hello. I don't know why you say... Which, by the way, there's this one sour apple ass motherfucker in one of the comment sections, and I saw him, and he's like, remember? He's like, look at how George Harrison looks. He looks like he's in so much pain. And you're like, bro, seriously? Like, a lot of people were saying, oh, maybe he's just high. Maybe he was high. Maybe he wasn't. Who the fuck cares, dude? They all look like they were in fucking pain, right? They look like it's like, obviously, they're fucking mouthing the words, bro. It's not the same thing as singing or performing it live. It's not gonna have the same effect. So I think it's stupid. And then this guy says the dumbest thing ever. He's like, oh, hello, goodbye fucking sucks. It's such a terrible song, and I'm a Paul fan. No, you're fucking not. You're not a fucking Paul McCartney fan if you say hello, goodbye is a terrible song. I'm sorry to say, but you are lying to yourself. You are not a Paul McCartney fan. Real Paul McCartney fans accept when he makes songs like this, okay? Alright, buddy? Just admit you're not one, and that's fine. I'm okay with that. As long as you admit that. Alright? You just gotta stop lying to yourself, though. Okay, obviously that's going a little too far. And it doesn't really matter, ultimately. People are allowed to dislike or like songs, even if it's from a popular artist. For example, like, if I told someone, like, they asked me, what's the best song on the album Damn by Kendrick Lamar, I would never reply with Humble, because that's my least favorite song. Probably from that album. So I would just say Humble is the worst song, and they'd be like, no, but Humble's so catchy. It's not even... God is the worst song. And I'd be like, no, God is one of the better songs. And then obviously people would disagree with me, which I had one time someone come and disagree with me, and they're like, how can you fucking say that? That's not true. You can't have God as your fucking top 5 best songs on Damn. And I'm like, yeah, because I fucking like it, and I think it's better than fucking Humble. And like, if somebody comes up to me and says, well, actually, Humble is a better song because God just sounds like shit, and it sounds like fucking Kendrick Lamar didn't take it seriously, and it sounds really terrible. And I'm like, no, it sounds like that because that's what the message Kendrick was trying to portray here. And I think that is good for the song itself. And I think that the symbolism and all of that fits better than whether or not it fucking sounds like a beautiful melody or something. I don't even know. Either way, at the end of the day, we all have opinions and things that we say to one another. And some of these opinions and ideas, they're not the same because we obviously have different minds and have experienced things differently. And so we'll come to different conclusions about certain pieces of music, media, shows, whatever it is. Like, imagine someone coming up to you and telling you that fucking Madame Web is the greatest movie of all time. Obviously, there's a good portion of people who will say Madame Web was so fucking ass that it was hilarious. But there's probably someone out there who thinks Madame Web is the peakest of peaks, and that's the best movies will ever get. It doesn't matter how objective or subjective you think it is. That's just gonna be the case. Someone's gonna come in here and be like, well, no, it's good to me. One man's trash is another man's treasure, as they say. Like I was saying earlier with the sayings and stuff. But that's an actual saying. What I was saying earlier was a greeting, which is a completely different thing than a saying, which would be like, the grass is greener on the other side, right? Because people say the grass is greener on the other side, even though both sides have grass and they're both pretty green. But it's just supposed to be like, oh, well, maybe there's an opportunity on this other side, or maybe something like that. Maybe it's being used satirically, and it's like, well, yeah, the grass is greener on the other side because they use fucking poison, and they poison the grass, and that's why it's green. You know, or something like that. Or they use food coloring. Who knows? Like, what specific thing? Which, by the way, some plants can literally use, like, food coloring, and that changes how they look. So, obviously, this actually has some merit to it. And explaining it like that does, like, explain a couple of things in life. Like how everything could technically be seen as an illusion, and there's, like, actually nothing that's real about living. And, well, it may be true that there is nothing real about living, and we're all gonna die someday. It doesn't change the fact that you can still be an asshole by simply stating that, oh, well, your struggles and your life are meaningless. And it's like, wow, thanks a lot, fucking dipshit. You, what a fucking brilliant mind you are for pointing out something that's obvious. You know, and you can still be an ass about it, too. It doesn't mean that you're fucking being realistic or honest. You're just being rude for no reason. Obviously, people are going to know what lies ahead, or at least somewhat surmise it. And even if you don't know, you can still feel it. You know, oh yeah, at some point my body's gonna stop moving. I'm gonna stop breathing. I'm gonna stop thinking at some point. Everything comes to an end. At least from what we know, right? Everything comes to an end at this point in our physical form. Maybe not in an astral projection form or some other fucking spiritual sense. But still, you are being rude by saying, oh, well, you're gonna die. It's like, yeah, of course I'm gonna die. You're gonna die too. Shut the fuck up, okay? But then again, is it better to just live in a candy land, a fairy tale land, where everyone just says, oh no, you're gonna succeed, follow your dreams, yeah, we're all gonna make it, when in reality that doesn't happen to most people, and a lot of people still struggle, and they try to survive off of whatever they fucking can. You know, how much of this fucking fake positivity can we allow in our lives? Like, if I say you're never going to be in a car accident, you know, the chances are low, but if you do get into one, you fucking can die, because that's just how dangerous they are. They're like one of the leading causes of death, right? It's the same thing with all of that. It's like, oh, well, I mean, driving is fun. I drive all the time. I'm literally driving right now as I'm speaking. But again, you can literally just die at any moment. Like, if someone decided, hey, I want to kill this guy, let's go fucking 100 miles per hour and not brake and just fucking ram into their back and just fucking kill them. Or even, like, in the front, they want to go through the sides, they want to fucking go through a red light, and you just didn't notice it in time, and then they fucking, you know, rear side you and all of this, you know, T-bone you, fucking, your head's getting banged all over the place, and you have that dramatic scene in those movies where a car accident happens, and there's a kid in the back, and, you know, obviously, the parents are distracted looking at the kid, and then they get into a car accident, and it was honestly kind of their fault for not paying attention, but it was also the truck driver's fault for going that fast, unless it's a scripted thing where some mastermind actually placed all of these pieces there so that they would get, you know, the person, you know, the little kid would deal with all this trauma so young. Like, think about that. Like, that's crazy. Like, to just develop all of these things specifically just for someone to go through them, and then reveal it to them later on and be like, I'm the reason your parents died. And they're like, what? You know, and then they break down and they're like, and this is why you must join my cause to take over the world. And they're like, what the fuck? Why would I ever join you? You literally killed my parents. Why would I do that? And then they're like, well, and then they get defeated either way, because the main character is just super wholesome, and they actually gained, like, friends, and so now they're like, well, I have something to live for, and that's my friends, and they went through the power of friendship. Even though some people fucking hate that, which, by the way, if you hate the power of friendship, you just don't have friends, and you've never had friends, and you have nothing in your life to aim for. It's not bullshit. It's called being a friend. It's called the power of family, right? When you have something to live for, you will obviously do things far more better than when you have nothing to live for. And that's just true. Okay? If you have nothing to live for, go ahead and be sad. Go ahead and be like, there's no way he should have won though. He had 1 quintillion power. And it's like, yeah, but he had his friends at his side. So obviously that's why he won. He had a supporter. He had someone that cared about him. And then it might not even be a guy. It could be a fucking woman. And it's like, oh, well, it's a fucking feminist movement thing. But then whenever the guy does it, it's completely fine, right? It's fine when the guy does it, but not when the girl does it, right? Actually, it doesn't really matter to me, honestly. I mean, people can complain about anything, and I think they'll just use that excuse to be like, oh, well, this story just sucks. And it's like, I can understand that sometimes, like, maybe some filmmakers or some things are just trying to get a message across, and ultimately that message gets a little bit muddied because they're trying to send some sort of extra, like, maybe not unnecessary, but they're just putting too much emphasis. It's too on the nose for some people, and they're like, oh, of course, this is what fucking wokeism does to movies. And it's like, yeah, you get the same thing without wokeism. It's just that sometimes, I don't know, it ends up being the guy instead of the girl. That's the difference. And sometimes it's not even the guy. It's just like some fucking random ass thing that happens. And it's just like, wow, I can't believe that this happened in this movie. And then it's like, yeah, stories exist, buddy. They're gonna have some drive, some narrative, and they're gonna appeal to a certain audience. You're not just gonna say, oh, well, this is not why all movies are bad. It's just that the writers are different now, right? And even if it's not because of the writers, it's because you've already seen this story. Like, come on, dude. If you see a story 50 times, by the 50th time, you're going to be like, huh, this story is not as good as the other ones because I've seen it 49 other times. Like, yeah, of course you have. You're not going to feel the same about this versus your better. And by the way, if you are so worried about that, just watch the old movies that are actually good. Don't be fucking watching the new ones and complain like, man, this shit sucks. Man, I wish I could go back. Like, you can go back. You literally can go back. Stop fucking complaining. Go watch your old movies. It's not that hard. You can literally replay them. Like, it's not that difficult, honestly. Like, there's no reason to complain. Genuinely. Unless you are purposely sending and throwing money into a fucking furnace, watching these movies, expecting something, and then you get nothing, then that's not their fault. That's your fault. That's your fault for going and watching the movie. Don't fucking watch a movie. There's a reason trailers exist. So that you can see, hey, I want to watch this movie. Hey, I don't want to watch this movie. Don't watch the movie if you think it's going to be bad. This has happened. This has existed for a long time. This is not a new concept. Don't watch something you're not going to do. Don't spend time on something you know you're going to dislike. It's not that difficult, honestly. But then again, some people want to complain. I want to complain. Everyone wants to complain. And ultimately, maybe it's all meaningless. And I mean, probably meaningless. There's no point in complaining because somebody else will complain about you complaining. And then they'll complain that there's too many people complaining. And there's not enough people thinking. There's not enough people doing their own things. Spending time on their own. Greeting one another. Saying sayings to each other. Making up new synonyms or antonyms or something like that. Creating something that's interesting instead of doing nothing for hours on end. Which is what I like to do. I like to do nothing. Because when I do nothing, I feel better. I do feel better. I think. Sometimes I feel like shit, though. So I will agree with people saying something like, man, my life sucks today. And then they're like, oh, well, you can make it suck less by, I don't know, eating ice cream unless you're fucking lactose intolerant or you just specifically hate ice cream, right? Maybe you're like, oh, well, your saying has no meaning to it. Yeah, that's the point of a saying, right? They're just a saying. They're just passed down. If you don't pass down a saying, it's not a saying. It stops being something of meaning. Just like words. If you don't continue to use them, they have no purpose. And that's just how it's going to be. So, to end this off, what is the cool, hip, new term for... what is a hip, new, cool slang term that everyone can use? let's use the word hippie from now on. I mean, it's been around for a while, but again, let's use the word hippie. You're a hippie, you're fucking rude, and you're old, you're dusty, you're musty, and you need to get out some more. And if you don't want to get out because everything sucks, then just stay inside and look at the things that don't suck. Don't pay attention to the things that suck, because by the time you die, you're just going to be left with regret and bitterness and hatred. And you're going to be like, well, man, if only the world didn't suck as much, I wouldn't have been, as bitter. But it's like, oh, well, maybe if you would have spent more time on things you actually liked as opposed to things you didn't like, then maybe you could have enjoyed your time on Earth more, right? And even if you didn't fucking do that, and maybe you just couldn't ever accomplish that because of whatever reason, circumstance, or whatever the fuck, then I truly feel a little sorry for you. But again, not everyone gets to have the happy ending. Not everyone gets to accomplish their dreams. Maybe you never got to witness one of those amazing moments where somebody created an amazing piece of media that wasn't appealing to any political ideologies, or if they were appealing to a political ideology, that they were at least interesting and entertaining, and they weren't trying to shove some idea down your throat, and they weren't made specifically for a target audience, and they weren't made to be entertaining or interesting. Once you reach that point in time where a story is just a story, and it's not some fucking bullshit that somebody made up in, I guess fucking Windows or some shit, and Google Docs, just wrote an entire doc with a team full of I don't know, lesbians or gays, I don't know, whatever the fuck you want to say, homophobes, racists, whatever, they're not there, it's just unbiased people making a fucking story that's so good. These people just have no opinions, they just know how to make stories. And that's the story you wanted to see. That's never gonna happen. I'm sorry to say, but that's never gonna fucking happen.